Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to the Vampire Diaries, episode 2. So, this was better, the first episode was better than I thought it was going to be, but it's still got some convincing to do for me. Because, although it was better than I expected, there were still some issues, you could say. Some things that didn't just quite work as well. On top of that, although these vampires are very clearly more classic style with a lot of the mythologies and whatnot, the idea behind this story is still very much Twilight-like. Now I've heard that this series is based off of a series of books that predate Twilight, like by a good amount of time. So maybe Stephenie Meyer got inspiration from these books, at least to a degree, for Twilight. So maybe it was the other way around from what I initially thought in my first episode reaction. Because I knew this series came out after Twilight, but I didn't know that this was based on a book series. So maybe Stephenie Meyer for the Twilight books got some inspiration from the books that this series is based off of. But either way, what is clearly true here is that there is a comparison to be made. There is similarities between the two. And it's undeniably similar. And it doesn't like necessarily take me out of it or anything. It makes my mind focus on that because of how absolutely stupid Twilight is. And it's kind of what I think about now. But like I said, there is definitely some high positives to this too, because as I mentioned, these vampires are more classical in terms of their mythologies, with such things as needing to be invited into buildings, being able to fly and everything, not being able to go out into the daylight unless they have this certain charm, apparently, or ring or whatever. But you get the gist. They're very much more classic style vampires in terms of all of that. But when you get down to it, it's still about a human girl and a vampire getting together, and her kind of being pushed into his world and everything through all of it. And I mean, yeah, it's similar on the most basic of premises, but it's very, very obviously reminiscent of it. And again, since this series came out, a lot of people might not have read the books, and they were introduced with the series and all, and probably their first thoughts were probably the same. This is like Twilight. So, yeah. It's a lot more serious, it's a lot darker, but it is still very much like it. So, I don't remember any of the characters' names except, funny enough, Damon. I don't know why I remember his name specifically, but I do. But we have this girl who is just your typical high school girl. Not really anything special about her. She doesn't really stand out even. And she ends up falling for this broody vampire dude who she doesn't know is a vampire. But she falls for him because he's kind of nice, he's broody and mysterious and everything, and it's like, there was a period of time where that was a big thing. Girls like going after the broody, mysterious guys, and it's like I've never understood the appeal of that. I don't know. Maybe it's just because that seems really kind of creepy to me. But it's like I wouldn't trust a person like that offhand, especially not enough to be attracted to them. Like I'd be afraid if I like went out with someone like that, I wouldn't return. um, the dark, mysterious, creepy kind of person just does not appeal to me, and I don't understand where that entire thing came from. I don't understand the appeal. It doesn't make sense to me. Um, but either way, she is attracted to him. And then there's this her brother as well, who he's dealing with the deaths of their parents and everything that they're going through in much less of a healthy way than even she is. And you have this blonde girl who's the like most likable character of the show so far, who's just like trying to find someone to be with. She just wants love, god damn it. um but yeah, it's like that kind of seems like her character, and at the end it's kind of implied that Damon is maybe going to use her and trick her into into thinking she's finding someone worthwhile. And Damon himself, the brother of our main male lead, I don't remember if they said older brother, but I presume older brother. Either way, he's kind of a dickbag who is fully enveloped in the entire vampire thing, so much so that unlike our main male lead, who is a vegetarian vampire, he attacks only animals and doesn't hurt people. Damon, unlike him, is very much attacking people and proud of it. He thinks that's what a vampire should do. And he sees his brother as weak, as cowardly, and is basically in town just to absolutely dick with him the entire time. He is literally just there to fuck with him and to be an asshole. And it's like, oh wow, like you are like just legitimately scum. Like this dude is like just legitimately scum. Like he's not even like I wouldn't even call him straight up evil. I just call him scum. He's not good enough to be evil. It's just like I don't like you, and I don't like that you're getting near the blonde girl who's actually pretty nice, even if she tries to be super flirtatious most of the time. She actually seems like she has a lot more to her character that I really like. Um, but yeah, we have a couple other characters too. None of them really stood out greatly. But I'm sure we'll get acquainted with more as we go along. Um, I don't know exactly what to expect going forward. Um, I assume Damon's just going to cause a lot of trouble and they're going to have to deal with it. And because of it, our main female lead is eventually going to find out about everything. And there's kind of hints that they were getting close to that at the end of the first episode, but we'll see how it progresses from there. I'm still on the fence about this series, though. I'm not going to lie. As you know, this is a donation series from Smurf, but I'm still very much on the fence with it as to whether or not I like it. Like, again, I liked the first episode a lot more than I expected to, but I'm still not quite clear how I feel about the show, like, entirely, because, again, I only watched one episode. So we're going to definitely give it another couple episodes, probably, since it's 40-minute episodes and all. I'm probably not going to like wait too long, but we're probably going to give it another couple episodes or so to see what I think of it and kind of make a deciding factor at that point whether or not I want to continue, whether or not it's for me and all of that. Because I think within a few episodes, I'd definitely be able to tell whether or not this series is my kind of thing. Um, but yeah. Definitely didn't give bad first impressions. Just, I'm not entirely sure what to think yet. So, we'll continue for now, see where it goes. And at least, if nothing else, the soundtrack will be good. Because apparently they play a lot of really good music from the time that I was actually really into. Based on the first episode, at least. I really like the music that they played in. It's very much like, oh yeah, we got the most current licensed music we could that's really popular with audiences because we want to appeal to our teen demographic and everything. It very much felt like that kind of thing, like, oh, hey fellow kids, you hear this music? It very much felt like that. But at the same time, it's good music, and I genuinely enjoy it. So, yeah. We'll see how it goes. We'll see. But for now, let's just get into it and hope for the best. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Excuse me. Excuse me. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So, with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. This was interesting, but definitely was kind of like, I wouldn't say meh for me, but kind of on the verge of meh. Like, it wasn't bad. Nothing about this episode was bad, but it's like it was kind of like it used the same exact trope probably half a dozen times in this episode. With the entire, like, looking away and then looking back and then something being there kind of thing. I think it used the same thing, like, multiple times in the same scene with the girl in the hospital. Victoria or whatever her name is. But it's like it used that so many times, and so much of this was super predictable. On top of just being really, like, cliche, but not in necessarily the worst ways I've seen, but also not in a good way. One of the big cliches it did was the entire fake breakup thing. It's like, at no point in that scene did we believe that they were actually going to stay broken up, even for the rest of the episode. It was so obvious they were going to get back together before the episode ended, and that basically it was going to be exactly as it sounded, as the episode made it seem. Like, Elena was just, in her eyes, being afraid of taking risks and whatnot. It's like, of course it was going to be that exact explanation. Just like, of course we knew Damon was going to continue to fuck with Victoria and everything, and just like we knew that Damon would get with the blonde girl and end up hurting her too. Everything here was so predictable. And as I've stated in the past, predictability is not necessarily a fault. A show can be predictable and still be good. Same with a movie or a game or whatnot. Predictability is only bad if it's utilized poorly. Predictability in a piece of media relies on how smart it makes the viewer feel for being able to predict it. Like, does the predictability of a scene of a entire episode or a movie or whatnot doesn't make the viewer feel like they figured it out, or doesn't make it feel like they were spoon-fed every little bit of information to where it'd be impossible not to see it coming. The problem here is that it feels more spoon-fed, but not to like the worst degree I've seen in anything. It's hard to explain. It definitely feels more spoon-fed than like I actually figured it out, but at the same time it's like it's not as much so as other things I've seen. So it's like I'm questioning what to feel about it. Every little thing that happened in this was so expected to happen. Like the entire confrontation between the aunt and the brother went exactly how you knew it was going to go. And even her like turning into her mother by like invading his privacy to search for all the drug stuff afterwards. It's like, yeah, exactly what you would expect to see happen after that. It's like everything was like so by the numbers, and in a way that the first episode really didn't feel like. Like the first episode did not feel like it was that by the numbers. It did have a lot of these tropes and whatnot in it too, but it didn't feel like it was that bad with it comparatively. This episode felt like it delved into that a lot more, and just didn't even try to do anything creative with it. Maybe that's just me. But this episode really was not as good. It bothered me because of that. Yeah, everything just... The only thing I think I didn't expect in this episode, that I didn't entirely see coming, was the teacher being so fucking disgusting and vile and horrible. Like that kind of threw me off, and honestly pissed me off. A teacher being like that in the first place, like if you're a parent or a family member in general and you come for a teacher conference and a teacher acts that way for you, you report them. Like, you do not let them get away with that shit. They deserve to be fired for talking to you like that. That is absolutely unacceptable. And I get that she took it to heart and really felt like it was her fault, even though it wasn't. But like, still, you don't let a teacher talk to you like that about your nephew like that, or any, whatever your relation is. It's just like, that's not okay by any means. That's not acceptable by any means. Because if this teacher is talking to you like that, he's probably talking to the kids like that. In fact, it's actually implied that he is. Because after she tells her niece Elena what happened, even Elena's like, "Oh, you got like, you experienced this," and it's like she's talking like this is a normal thing. And if this teacher is talking to his students like this, again, that's definitely that is definitely warranting being fired. Because there is no situation in which that is okay. That is borderline abusive for a teacher to talk to their students that way. So that's the only part in this that actually caught me off guard, but at the same time, it's like it pissed me off so much. It's like I don't really consider that a good thing that it caught me off guard. I'm not saying it was bad. I'm not. There are teachers who do shit like this. I'm not saying like it was like poorly written or anything. I'm just saying like it pissed me off. The stuff between the brother and the other guy as well. It's like just like threatening each other in regards to Victoria and all was just like, okay, are you actually going to take this anywhere? And then I'm thinking like, oh no, it's at least for this episode not actually going to go anywhere. It's probably just going to be a misunderstanding at some point, or one of them sees the other one doing something with her, and it's like, and by the end it's like, yeah, he sees her kissing the other guy, so it's like, yeah, okay. And that's the biggest issue with this episode for me. It's like, it's not even just the predictability in and of itself. It's that it's predictable because everything here is so like bland. Like, it's like the writers aren't even trying to do anything unique or new or interesting. It's all stuff that's so blatantly like the most generic options. It's so blatantly like boring because of it. Because the writers went with as stereotypical and generic of character choices and writing decisions as they did, it ends up taking away a lot from the believability of it. There are some things in this that, yeah, are a bit believable. Again, Elena and Stefan's relationship, I definitely believe it. It has good chemistry and there is actual realism to it. But then you get stuff like that and it's like, no. And I mean, I could also complain about the fact that like these teenagers don't act like actual teenagers. At least from my experience with actual teenagers, both back when I was in school and both before and after. That they don't talk like actual teenagers, that they just don't actually come across as teenagers. And I am sure that most of the actors and all are actually adults and everything, and the writers are adults, so they don't know like what teenagers act like. And I mean, to be fair, in that same regard, I don't know what a lot of teenagers nowadays act like outside of what I see on social media or in person. But I'm not around a lot of teenagers constantly. I'm not a teacher or anything where I would be. The only time I'm like around them would be like, again, if I'm just out and about or at church or something. And it's like, yeah, they don't act like this. At least none of the ones I've seen, even now. But to be fair, that is just my experience. So maybe I've just, in all of my years, never seen any teenagers that act like this, or talk like that. But it just doesn't seem believable still. I don't know. But then again, you could say that about a lot of shows and the way the characters talk and act in those. Like animation notably does this a lot of times. So yeah, it's just a thing. But yeah, this episode was just not as enjoyable, not as good, not as well written, in my opinion, as the first one. It took a few steps back and did a few things that just did not work for me. But I'm still going to continue to give it a chance because it's only 2 episodes. Well, and the first episode, again, was a lot better than I thought it would be, so I'm definitely willing to continue to give it a chance for now, see what we got, and see where it goes. But tell me in the comments below, what did you think of the second episode of Vampire Diaries? And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See you all next time.